What's up guys? Welcome to another Frostpunk video. And today we'll be looking at how to play Frostpunk 2. Alright, so here are some of the things that you have to be aware of when jumping into Frostpunk 2. Alright, so heat stamps, it's a form of currency that you use to basically fund different projects for the different groups in the game. In addition to that, it's also used to do excavation of the frostland. For example, as you can see right here, you'd use it to basically find, excavate different areas. So that's what it's actually used for. One sec. Maybe when that setting is still causing problems, I'll just turn off the top completely. Alright, anyways, not sure what's going on with the game's audio, but it's technically irrelevant. Don't need it all that much. So back to what I'm saying. So here's a wonderful city that I've constructed and it's working totally fine. So let's look at the different features. So the first thing down here is you'll see different leaders, different groups, not leaders, different groups. So each of these different groups have different ideas, beliefs, and wants. And so the decisions that you make as it relates to either supporting or going against these different groups within the game can influence the development of your city. And the laws can provide additional resources, new technologies, and improve the way of life of the citizens. And it can also affect um, population growth as well. And one of the things that you have to be aware of when it comes to building a city in this game is the weather, along with crime, along with healthcare, and the supply of raw materials, and even goods as well. So depending on who you side with and the decisions you make, you can either get durable goods or goods that are consumed constantly. So you end up having to produce a whole lot of stuff. So when you just start the game out, you get a small centralized area, and you then have to expand out into different areas for the development of your city in order to provide housing and provide materials as well that is related to the building of infrastructure and so on. Depending on the level of difficulty and where you decide to locate your city, you will find resources either close and accessible or farther away, and you have to use frost breaking to get to them. So the areas that have already been frost broken, they will turn out gray, as you can see here, which means that if you want to put a district on top of them, it's possible. Um, there are different types of districts, and each of these different districts, they serve a specific purpose. So the logistics districts is usually placed on top of areas where you would do exploration, for example, right here. So you would use the frost breaking to get to this area until you've covered the point and then after you would then clear that area. So basically how frost breaking works or how it works in order to kind of break apart different areas of the of the city's outer limits in order to, start building, you have to select individual areas and you can use a cursor. So you select frost breaking and then you right click on the areas that you want to excavate. And then it will basically select a certain amount of tiles. And once it has reached the maximum amount, you can then press the tick and it will then excavate the area. And you will then be able to go ahead and start with the frost breaking process. So we're not going to do that today because I already have one area and I have enough scouts to go out. Another thing to actually look out for, I mean, it's probably not going to affect me. I really don't care about it based upon the development of my city is the whiteout. So what the whiteout does is it prevents you from exploring the frostland, disables transportation routes. We'll get into transportation routes later. And it also affects the heat consumption within the city. And it can cause other issues as it relates to the health of the citizens within your city, leading to either death or them getting crippled, severely injured, inability to work. So now that we have discussed that, let's look up here at some of the UIs at the top. So the first thing I'm going to look at is this coal. So you can get coal from either one of two sources or three sources. Well, depending on the laws that you sign, you can also gain coal from that and other resources and heat stamps. But you gain it from the different areas within the city, and how you actually get access to it is first you have to frost break the area. After you've frost broken the area, you then go over to districts and you will select an extraction district. The extraction district is used to extract any form of resource. Now, resource falls in the category of either prefabs, materials, coal, steam, and oil. That's what it's really concentrated around. So you would put an extraction district on the area, and then after you put the extraction district on the area, depending on whether or not you've gone into the research tree and found and research specific upgrades for the area, you can use specific bits of technology to enhance the productivity of the area. So, for example, over here, we're looking at the oil district, and inside of it, you have the hydraulic pump jack, which helps in the extraction of oil. In this district, it's mostly about coal. And so in here, you have the district coal mine, the dust coal mine. And so it provides a bit of pollution and so forth, but it still allows extraction to be efficient. Another thing to actually look out for is that when you're zoning certain areas or when you're putting in certain districts, they shouldn't really be close to certain areas. For example, you wouldn't want to put a residential district close to a coal mine or oil because it can pose pollution problems. Although, as you can see with this particular district, it provides, that's when we're looking at it like negative heat or so forth. It provides a little bit of heat within the area based upon the type of district it is. But it's still unwise to put it close to any industrial or extraction district. Now, what's the industrial district really used for? So the industrial district, the purpose of it is basically for the creation of goods and prefabs. Goods and prefabs. So prefabs along with heat stamps are used to create districts. So it's advised, I would advise that when you're just starting out building your city in the game, I would advise that you locate the nearest prefab areas and put extraction districts on them, as well as putting extraction districts on any raw material that you find in terms of we're talking about coal. Specifically go for the natural resources so that the generator can have enough to run. So let's talk about the generator now. So in the city center, you have two buildings, and these buildings are once placed, or the one that you are able to put in is indestructible. So yeah, you might see this on it saying, oh, you can remove it, but these two buildings are indestructible. But they can be turned off. I wouldn't advise turning off the generator though, because it can lead to the death of citizens. Anytime the generator is turned off, it can cause effects, negative effects towards the citizens, in you losing the amount of people within your city and so forth. Anyways, on to that. So the generator itself, as you can see right here, its purpose is to provide heating to the entire city. And it does this by extending heat to the different districts. So depending on how districts are placed within a specific area, there is a level of heat that is provided. So it provides a bonus of heat, as you can see here. And this isn't just related to residential districts. It's related to all districts. So we can see that the industrial district is good to work here, and it's probably some latency or whatever. But the industrial district can work here, and there is the coverage of additional heat, which is good for the persons working within those districts. There are other buildings here that you can also put in different districts as well. I haven't really researched it as yet, but there are housing districts that you can also put in. So when the game starts, as I said, you start with the central district, and it's advised to build outside. So I would build two residential districts around here and then expand out at a later date once I have enough. Housing as well is very important because it prevents people from getting sick and dying of cold. You can also expand districts. Here's how you expand districts. The first thing you have to do is click on a district. Once you've clicked on the district, you then click on the expand thing. And once you click on that now, you then just plop it down. You click on the different zones or the areas you want to put it in, and then the district will then morph to fit that specific area. As you can see here, it is adjusting to accommodate additional people. Now let's go over here and look at the laws. So blah 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 blah. Sorry, I did not go in too much detail about it. But this basically is the council. So what is the purpose of the council? The council. Hey, what's up, Avenger Engineer? The performance in the game is pretty good. I can't complain, really. Hey, Blood Mage, what's up? All is well? All right. So the council itself. The council is basically the way how the city and its different officials or politicians vote on specific laws. It is here that you make certain decisions about the society, and this could be about the youth within the city, funerals, which is also important. Uh, Funerals in the sense that, when somebody dies or if you have an issue, and there is a lot of death, this can somehow soothe it. And how you go about doing it is that you propose. When you propose, a vote is held. And based upon, I would say based upon how many people are for it, it is likely to either pass or not pass. So here's a perfect example. So in this case, we want funeral ceremonies. And as you can see, there's a set of people who are hesitant about it and 23 against. Depending on how many people are for or against it, the law may actually not pass or may actually pass. So that is something to actually look at when you're making certain decisions and how it will affect other groups within the city. And so sometimes you may pass laws, and those laws that you pass may actually be something that another group doesn't like, and it may pose issues later on. And laws are also flexible. They can either be amended or they can also be removed. Now, if we look at the negotiation side of things, what this does is it gives you the ability to get other factions to support you in your decisions, making it more likely that your laws will pass. And this also it has a double benefit to it. It can allow you to gain better relations with certain groups within the city, and it can also allow you to get certain laws passed. However, there is a downside to it as well. If you fail to meet the demands that the group that you're negotiating with asks for, it can also have negative effects. And you have to really go through and read and see whether or not the proposals make sense. As you can see here, these are just some of the decisions that the different factions or different groups that pop up within your city are able to influence. For example, this one, which is the machinist, everyone must support the production of prefabs or whatever it is, and so forth. And then you gain certain things based upon favorable conditions that are outside of Frostland harsh conditions, which could be either, a case where there's a storm or it's extremely cold. If the conditions are very favorable, they'll be able to provide this additional resource to you. So, hmm, it says build advanced fracturing facility. So some of them I said you can actually go after them, but they have differing effects as you go along. So we accepted that, and we have about 49% of the vote. And so we'll go ahead and pass it off. Give me one moment. No, we'll cancel that. Accept. And as it goes through the court or the council, you can see the law has basically been passed. That I had enough people to basically support. And so now the law has passed. I'm gonna try and see if the audio is working again. Because that was one of the problems I was experiencing. So I turned it down whenever I realized that's causing problems. I'm leaving it up. And it's still causing problems. That's the only issue I'm really having in Frostpunk. Otherwise, apart from that, just the audio. We'll try and run it with that. Alright. So, about the Frostland itself. Ah, the Frostland. The Frostland is not the same as how you remembered it. It's quite different. There are a whole lot of features that are in oh well, these people get sick. So the Frostland has drastically changed. In the first game, it was a more, I would say, hands-on experience where the game is basically paused once you enter the Frostland. But in this version of Frostpunk, Frostpunk 2, everything happens in real time. So as you go around looking at different resources, different areas to explore, and so on, the game is still continuing. Production is still going on in the main city. People are still having issues. All of that is happening while you're exploring the Frostland. So it's best to move around, look and see what you're doing, pause the game for a little bit, get a feel of where you want to go. And then after you do that, then you go into the different areas that you want to explore. Now, the Frostland has a lot of things associated with it that are a bit different. One of them is that you're still able to, based upon the old game, find people and escort them back to your city. But in this version of the Frostland, you're able to build trails. So trails connect different areas to, I'm gonna check this out. Make sure this is closed. Sorry. So trails basically connect different areas that provide resources to the main city. And based upon how you have decided to manage it, these resources are capable of running out. For example, right here, I turned this off because I realized I was running out of fuel that I was providing to the city. So the scouts will basically go out and they will set up outposts along various routes within the Frostland, and then resources will flow from these different outposts back to the city. And what that does is that increases the amount of resources that the city has and is able to produce and maintain the population on the Frostland now. So when it comes to population within the Frostland, back to the different districts, the game is paused. The logistics district. The purpose of the logistics district is to explore the Frostland and to also aid in the production of outposts within the Frostland. So what these outposts basically do, as I said earlier, is just provide resources to the main city. But it can also go both ways as well. So for example, you can also have a situation where the city is providing resources to an outpost. For example, in the first game, or when we were talking about concepts for DLC and so on, a couple of years ago, we mentioned the whole idea of building other colonies and being able to visit those colonies and manage it. And we're talking about how would you implement that into Frostpunk 1 based upon how the mechanics of Frostpunk 1 works. And it was possible and not possible because of the intricacies and the hands-on requirements as it relates to getting into a specific area and then managing it and so forth and the different laws and everything. And is it that this particular settlement will be different from the main one? And then they provided the DLC, which kind of gave us a hint as to what they were going to do. And here in number 2, they have basically expanded that out, what they did with the on the edge DLC as to how a potential colony would look. So let me show you what the colony actually looks like. So this is a food colony. You have different kinds. And so colonies operate under the same parameters as the main city in that they need materials, they need housing, and they need goods, and they need food. So another thing about these areas is they usually have a surplus of a particular resource. But the question is, how long does it last? And it's not infinite in some aspects because of the type of colony it is. It can run out and you have to maintain these different colonies, ensure that they have enough resources and the citizens are happy and so on. And in addition to that, you're able to move people from the main city via this tab. So you will see this and it will basically tell you what kind of colony it is. And this one shows you basically the status of the colony itself. So if we go here, we can basically send people from the main city to the colony. And they will then add to the population. Death of people in both the main colony and the main city, or death with people in a colony and the main city will also cause distrust with the citizens of the city, which could also lead to you being kicked out as a leader. Right? So it's always good to make sure that both settlements are happy. As you can see, frost breaking has took place on a very large scale. It was given to me this way. And there's an abundance of the resource that the area is basically known for. And it has a, as I would say, a scout camp as well, or the ability to construct a scout camp. All districts can be found in the colony that you would find in the main district. The only difference is that laws that apply in the main city apply in the colony, and if the main city falls, so does the colony. All right, so there are 3 different types of roads or connection ways. I actually haven't gone on to actually done the 3rd one, but you have rail, and you have the skyway. I did the skyway, so I was able to build outposts. I don't think you can see it, but usually there is I'd say like a model of the skyway itself that they would show you, but I'm not seeing it here. So, but the Skyway basically allows resources to travel a lot faster, and it also allows you to upgrade outposts into full-on settlements. Now, you can't visit these settlements. That's the only sad part about it. But you are able to set up infinite resources, so it's unlimited. But this only works for specific things. So, for example, this right here can be transformed into a full-on settlement to provide coal to the main city. So back to the main city now, and we're going to look at the generator a little bit more in depth. So as I had mentioned before, the generator is the heart, or if I haven't mentioned it, I'll mention it now. The generator is basically the heart of the city. If the generator fails, just like in Frostpunk 1, everyone dies. Everything stops working. But there are instances I've seen, it could be a scenario-based situation or based upon the game's story mode where the generator is off and production is still taking place. Each area has its own heat system or maybe a mini generator as you will see in the different areas as I explore the districts closely. But depending on how you vote or which groups you support, it can affect the way how the generator performs and the type of resources it uses. In this particular situation, the generator is adaptive. So it uses multiple resources to create energy. As you can see, it uses coal, it uses oil, and it uses steam. And as you can see here, the output is at 100% because there's enough of each resource to finance, or I wouldn't say finance though, but to sustain continuous production of fuel. Now, as the temperatures decrease, when the whiteout hits, this will affect the ability of the generator to provide enough fuel for everyone to keep getting heat within the city. I still haven't solved my housing problem as yet. The district has been fully constructed, and it seems as if I can keep adding more to the district, which is what I shall actually do. Alright, districts within the Frostland are capable of housing different items within them. So depending on who you side with, I'll get into the research tree shortly, or who you side with or which group you support or which laws you pass. You're able to construct different buildings within the districts. So, for example, if we look at the housing district, we have the ability to construct a research institute, a patrol tower, watchtower, and a hospital. Now, the research institute is available at the beginning of the game and aids in you gaining access to researching different technologies in the technology tree. So the technology tree allows you to research not just things that will affect the generator, but things that will affect the society. And as I said, based upon the individuals who you side with, you can gain different benefits by siding with them in terms of either increased productivity, increased fertility, and so on. So going back in the tree, because research is taking place, because I decided to do that, and we can look at society. So for example, over here, parenthood, depending on the decision that you make or where you choose, it can increase the population, and it can decrease population, and you can look at marriage, and so forth. So the different aspects of research can affect how the society runs, how many people live, whether or not you have a population surplus, whether or not there's a crime issue in the city. So the research tree is your friend. Pick the researches that you think is necessary for you at the time. Different factions within the city have different aspects of the same project that you can use. or I would say they provide different benefits and buffs and disadvantages based upon who you decide to side with in terms of technology. And yes, even if you decide to choose one of them or you decide to research all of them, I will show you, for example, over here in the Steam district, you still have the ability to construct um instance extraction. Where was it? I'm sure I saw it a while ago. Right, here it is. You're able to construct different versions of the same tech with different benefits. As you see, this one provides 200 steam. This provides 150. So there is no limit to how you can develop your city, but it takes time and you have to manage the different factions. What happens if a faction level gets too low? If a faction within your city's level of, let's say, satisfaction falls below a certain amount, they can riot. Now, when a group decides to riot, it can pose many problems for your city. One of those problems that it can cause is, for example, you're just not able to run a particular district for a while. Worst case scenario, the district is sabotaged by the group and you have to repair it. Do you have enough resources to repair the district? Yes, no, maybe. Those are some things you have to consider. Added to that, they can also decide to kick you out. Alright, so we're going to look at something else. Once the court is back in session. So guard squads can be used to actually quell or suppress rebellions that may occur within the city at differing times and any other issues that you may experience. So by quelling rebellions, what it does, it prevents a district from going on strike or you experiencing any issues or anything like that. That could basically stop the running of your city. Go back to menu file. Well, I have returned. Okay, so I was trying to fix some issues with sound. Apparently it hasn't actually been really fixed. So I'm gonna have to jump back out again. Give me a second. Well, it looks like I'm gonna have to actually cut this